Macron turned laughingstock for Spain and election rivals after unwise remark over vaccinated row. Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sánchez hit back at Emmanuel Macron after the French president pledged to pee off the unvaccinated last week. In a thinly veiled swipe at President Macron, the Spanish leader said there is no need to resort to drastic measures to convince those who are yet to accept an anti-COVID vaccine in his country. Asked if he would seek to annoy the unvaccinated, as Mr. Macron put it last week, Mr. Sánchez said, "I believe this is a relevant debate for other parts of Europe, but I believe that fortunately in Spain we can avoid this debate." He added that more pedagogical measures had already worked in his country. As of January 9, 81% of the Spanish population had completed a full cycle of vaccination, and 86% had partly been vaccinated against COVID-19. France, in comparison, only fully vaccinated 74% of its residents, while 79% had been partly vaccinated up until the same date. Mr. Macron last week prompted howls of condemnation from opposition rivals less than 4 months before the next presidential election. Speaking in a short interview, Mr. Macron said, "The unvaccinated, I really want to pee them off. And so, we're going to continue doing so, until the end. That's the strategy." France last year put in place a health pass that prevents people without a PCR test or proof of vaccination to enter restaurants, cafes and other venues. The government wants to turn it into a vaccine passport that means only the vaccinated can have a health pass. Mr. Macron continued, "I won't send the unvaccinated to prison, I won't vaccinate by force. So we need to tell them, from January 15th, you won't be able to go to the restaurant anymore, you won't be able to down one, won't be able to have a coffee, go to the theater, the cinema." The expression "emmerder," from merde, that can also be translated as to get on their nerves, is considered very informal by French dictionary Larousse and prompted immediate criticism by rivals on social media. The French president has been criticized in the past for off-the-cuff remarks which many French people said came across as arrogant, cutting or scornful. He has later expressed contrition on several occasions. Far-right leader Marine Le Pen said on Twitter, "A president shouldn't say that. Emmanuel Macron is unworthy of his office." Macron, who has not yet formally declared his candidacy for re-election in April, came under fire from challengers already in the race, accusing him of overstepping the line with his remarks. The uproar prompted a new delay in the passing of legislation aimed at tightening France's COVID rules at a time when the country is facing record daily infection rates heightened by the Omicron strain of the virus. Opponents accused the president of going too far with the language of his warning. "It's not up to the president of the republic to pick out good and bad French people," Macron's top challenger, Republicans candidate Valérie Pécresse, said. She called for a government that unites people and calms things down. Macron has never felt himself to be president of all French people, far-right presidential candidate Marine Le Pen charged. Far-left firebrand Jean-Luc Mélenchon called the vaccine pass plan collective punishment against individual freedom. Other critics mocked the president's claim last month that "I've learned to have a lot more respect for everyone" after he previously earned a reputation for sometimes tactless comments. A former investment banker with little experience of retail politics before sweeping to power in 2017, Macron was accused of talking down to voters in the early years of his presidency and faced a months-long backlash from Yellow Vest protesters. But Macron's former Prime Minister Édouard Philippe said that he backed his old boss. "The president doesn't want fully vaccinated people to be subject to restrictions because 8 to 10% of the population refuses," he said. "I think there's a large majority of people who agree." Macron, who was elected in 2017 on a pledge to reform France and restore its status as a global power, is the overwhelming favorite to win the election, but analysts caution his victory is far from certain. His most potent rival could prove to be Pécresse.